For part 2, we're not going to really do any work. I'm just going to talk about what I've done and how I've come up with my methods and solutions. So what we have here is the Philco 37640. It's not a 37620, it's not a 37640B, it is a 37640. That's important for this lesson. Not a lesson, more of a dialogue. Okay, so here's where we're at. I refinished the body of the cabinet. It still needs work. You can see that it's not quite as shiny as I'd like it to be. That's easy to fix. I applied the clear coat real thick. Once I get it sanded with a high grit sandpaper, I'll apply another coat, and then we'll probably do it again and again and again until it looks perfect. The stain I used is a Minwax red mahogany. It's rubbed on with a rag. To me, that's the only way to do it. I have the most luck doing it that way. For the fluted edge, I had to do some repair work using wood filler, which is okay because the wood filler isn't being exposed. It's getting painted right over. But this fluted edge is routed into a piece of furniture-grade plywood. Plywood implying that it's made in layers. 4 layers to be exact. And in between each layer is glue. Well, over the course of time, and it's been refinished at least once or twice, that glue has kind of eroded, and it's formed kind of like a gap, a very small gap between the 2 layers. So I had to fill that in, sand it, and then put my lacquer coat over top of it, of course masking everything off. The nice thing about the lacquer finish is that it cleans up real easily if it gets onto the areas where you don't want it. As long as it doesn't soak into the wood, you're fine. Wonderful. Okay, so we've got that established. The face of the radio was power sanded before I got it. Unfortunately, this is one of the Philco products that has the faux finish installed. As a cost-cutting measure, Philco decided that they could create more ornate patterns on the faces of their radios by using a lithographic decal, rather than inlaid or hand-cut veneer, which you can do some pretty cool stuff with veneer if you have the patience. But when you're paying factory workers to mass-produce these suckers, you want it done quickly and you want it done consistently. So what they ended up doing is they came up with a lithographic finish, not unlike modern furniture like this bookcase, which has a completely fake wood grain finish all over it. Unfortunately, that became the norm in modern furniture making, but at least for mass-produced stuff. So you got that going on. But anyhow, what I ended up having to do is coming up with a way to bring back that original finish that was power sanded away. Because they can see it's just plain wood underneath. I don't even know what species this wood is. I think it might be birch or some kind of hardwood. I don't know what it is. I'm not a wood guy. But fortunately, a company called VintageRadiolabels.com, that's VintageRadiolabels.com, has a solution for radios that have had this mistreatment done to them. Now let's take a little step back. It was sanded away because he intended to refinish it somehow. I don't know what his plan was, but the finish must have been bad enough to warrant that kind of treatment. It had to have been really bad because, like a modern faux finish, they can scratch, they ding, and they don't look good. Unlike real wood, if you damage a fake wood grain finish, it looks like hell. If it gets worn out, it starts to delaminate. It just looks bad. So that's why that was all done the way it was done. VintageRadiolabels.com has a solution, and it is the Faux Pro product line, which they make for a variety of radios, including the 37620 and the 37640. As it turns out, I must have the very first 37640 he's ever had, because got my this is one set he had actually sent me, and I'm going to apply this. I'm going to basically lay it out as it would be if I were really doing this in the field. This is a what's called a water slide decal. So it's printed using an inkjet printer on decal paper. You can buy this stuff, and you can do it yourself if you have the artwork and a printer big enough to handle this size material. So we have that. That's the face of the radio, and here is the bottom. So when you're actually doing this, you want to draw some pencil marks and all that happy stuff. Make sure everything is lined up before you start ripping off the backer. You soak the stuff in water and it just separates. The white areas that you see, by the way, they are clear, and when applied will actually show the wood underneath, so it'll actually have some natural wood to it. But there's a couple of problems with this label. The first problem is the grill holes don't line up. Because this was made for a 37620, none of these line up. And if I were to cut this away, I would have, exposed wood here. Or I'm sorry, I'd have exposed wood in some areas where I don't want it, and yeah, a lot of different issues. Or I'd have the decal missing, and yeah, anyway. The other problem I have here is that the bottom piece. This is the bottom decal. And let's get that lined up close enough. If I apply my freshly lacquered bottom strip, you're going to see that there's some wood exposed on either side. So this label has to be lengthened slightly, about ½ an inch or so. I have actually informed the seller that, hey, by the way, there's a couple of problems here, and he has been more than happy to solve them, because every time somebody buys one of his products and advertises it on YouTube, he gets free advertisement, but he also gains more customers. So I think it's a terrific product, a terrific idea, but needs some modification. And as I learned, my 37640 has a slightly different color pattern than the 37620 that this was made for. It took me a while to figure that out, though. It wasn't until today that I discovered that my radio is much darker than the 37620 and the 37640, the B, which is the one that's most prominent online if you look for pictures. So that brings me to my next point: color accuracy. As it turns out, my mistake of making the stain too dark was in my benefit, because prior to today, I had not seen any pictures of a pre-restored 37640. I've seen other models, but not this one. And I just sort of went with my gut based on a couple of pictures that I found online. And as it turns out, I finally, and of course I just found a picture of one of these, I was right. It should be a dark red mahogany on the sides. This fluted edge is supposed to be black, or something close to it. And these are supposed to be dark, maybe not black, but they should be dark stain, very dark stain. But the thing is, because it's such a rare model, and a lot of people who get these don't restore them to their original appearance, which is what I'm kind of trying to do, there aren't many pictures of a 37640 that are clean, something you could base a restoration off of, until now. To better understand my confusion of the original appearance, I need to do this in a photo gallery. The first image we're looking at is a restored 37640. or a 640B. It's hard to tell because it's missing the photo finish, and no effort has been made to restore its factory appearance. Without any way of reproducing the original finish, this is how the radio would look. The second picture we're going to see is a 37-640B that has been restored. This is what I've been basing my work on, and when it came to choosing the coloration, this is what I based it off of. You notice the black fluted edge and the black base. Now the third image we're going to see is of an unrestored 37-640B. Note the light base, the light fluted edge, and the overall lighter appearance of the front face. The next image I'm going to show you is of a factory catalog photo of a 37-641B. It's hard to tell what the original coloration would be on this set because of the photo quality and the lack of any colored depth. And the final set of images we're going to see are of the 37-640 that I found on eBay. I just found this one after doing some searching, and you can clearly see that the coloration is much closer to what I wound up with at the end of the finishing process. The one thing I have to do now is explain to the decal guy that the color should be much darker than the other models, because this model is slightly unique in that it has a very smoky, very black appearance. I now feel much better about my color choices, and I feel that I've pretty much hit the nail on the head when it comes to painting the side, the fluted edges and the base with black lacquer. I think that it's a much closer rendition of what the radio would have looked like if only I can get the decal colored just right. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more. Our next series will cover the refaux finish process once I get that all squared away, and I hope you come back to see it. Thanks again.